The Japanese government seems ready to extend coronavirus emergency measures in Tokyo and 8 other prefectures for another 3 weeks. Emergency declarations for those areas are set to expire on Monday. Officials plan to extend it to June 20th, the day Okinawa's emergency is set to end. Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide suggested he'll make a final decision on Friday after consulting a panel of experts. Tokyo's battle against the virus has seen slow results. While new infections are declining, the daily average for the past week remains high at around 600. Experts suggest over 80% were infected by a more contagious strain first found in the UK. Even more concerning is a cluster of infections linked to a variant that's crippled hospitals in India. Given situations abroad, experts warn that strain could become more common.
We're still at the beginning of our vaccination rollout, so we have no choice but to continue to take thorough antivirus measures.
Osaka has also been hit hard in recent months. Officials there say they hope to keep urging bars and restaurants not to serve alcohol as part of efforts to control the spread.
I know it's tough for those establishments, but many people have been infected while out drinking.
The government is pressing ahead with its vaccination rollout, which has been the slowest among the G7 nations. About 300 universities across the country are offering up their campuses as inoculation sites. Health authorities across Japan confirmed more than 4,100 new cases on Thursday and 111 deaths. Turning now to Hong Kong, where police have again banned the annual vigil to commemorate victims of China's military crackdown on pro-democracy activists 32 years ago. Public debate on the 1989 Tiananmen Square incident in Beijing has been taboo in mainland China. A civic group in Hong Kong held the vigil on June 4th every year to remember the victims and to call on authorities to shed light on the deadly crackdown on the student-led movement. Police banned the vigil for the first time last year, citing coronavirus measures. Again this year, the police say they will not permit the vigil to be held, citing the pandemic.
This gathering is not permitted. Those who participate will be considered violating the law.
The warning comes after a Hong Kong court handed down prison terms to 4 pro-democracy activists, including Joshua Wong, for participating in last year's memorial. The vigil's organizers have issued a statement saying they'll continue to fight for the right of citizens to lawfully mourn the victims. A vigil is also planned in nearby Macau, whose one country, two systems framework is similar to Hong Kong's. But local police there banned this year's event, explicitly saying for the first time that such a gathering is illegal as it would infringe on China's sovereignty. Australia's ambassador to China has been denied access to the trial of an Australian author charged with espionage. He went to the court in Beijing and was turned away. Ambassador Graham Fletcher went to the court on Thursday with the intention of observing the trial of Yang Hengjun. Yang is a former Chinese diplomat. He became an Australian citizen and later became a writer. He was detained by Chinese intelligence authorities in January 2019 and indicted last October. Ambassador Fletcher shared his frustration at not being allowed into the court.
This is deeply regrettable and concerning and unsatisfactory. We've had long-standing concerns about this case, including the lack of transparency, and therefore have concluded that it's an instance of arbitrary detention.
A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson dismissed that allegation. He said Yang's case involves state secrets and that the trial is being held behind closed doors in accordance with the law.
China is firmly opposed to the Australian side's unwarranted disruption in China's law-based handling of the case and its gross interference with China's judicial sovereignty. We have made serious complaints with the Australian side.
Relations between China and Australia have been strained especially since Australia called for an independent inquiry into the origins of the coronavirus. The military crackdown in Myanmar continues to claim lives, with a local human rights group putting the death toll at over 800 civilians. Most of the victims were young people at the forefront of the resistance movement. Increasingly, protesters are arming themselves. NHK World's Sahataya Kraikungtot followed one young man through his training.
Crawling under barbed wire, traversing monkey bars, running in formation. These drills are part of a jungle military training program. A 22-year-old from Mandalay, we'll call Ye Tui, is one such trainee who joined in April. Like the others, he left his home to take part in the camp.
We do running and such exercises as push-ups and sit-ups every day at 5:30 in the morning. Then we have military drills. We have learned things like rescuing the wounded from a battlefield and how to take apart and reassemble a gun.
Before the coup, Ye Tui was one of the freedom-loving youths who performed rap music with his friends. But after the coup, he decided to put his dream aside and took to the streets every day to protest the military takeover. Then he witnessed many people dying when the military forcefully broke up peaceful demonstrations.
Since the coup happened, it's hard for us to continue playing our music. They assaulted us, even in our own homes, and we had no way to fight back. I came out here because I heard they are offering classes on warfare.
Overseeing the military training is a former major who defected from the army and joined the protesters. He is welcomed in the ethnic area where he has found a new purpose.
We will not be bullied if we acquire some military skills. That's why this is mandatory. We are all becoming more and more united because everyone needs to work together and fight back when immoral people are harming the country.
The National Unity Government, which was set up by ousted lawmakers opposed to the coup, announced that it has formed its own force to protect people from the military crackdown. Ye Tui said he is waiting for a signal.
I am fighting for justice, and I will go any place I am assigned where there is injustice. I have resolved to do whatever it takes to fight until we have a victory.
The situation in Myanmar seems more and more like the beginning of a civil war involving young people. As the crackdown continues, more civilians may take up weapons against the military. Sahataya Kraikungtot, NHK World.
Storm surges caused by a powerful cyclone that made landfall in eastern India on Wednesday have left at least 50,000 people homeless. Cyclone Yas is the second to hit India recently. Cyclone Tauktae killed more than 150 people when it slammed into the country's west coast on May 17th. Video footage from the eastern state of Odisha shows residents wading through water and strong winds destroying structures. The storm later weakened, but authorities in neighboring West Bengal say levees collapsed at more than 100 places due to storm surges, inundating about 1,100 villages. At least one person was reportedly killed when a house collapsed. The twin disasters have reportedly halted coronavirus testing and vaccinations in some regions and have added to the pressure on the country's medical system, especially in rural areas. Now to world weather. Parts of the U.S. were hit by numerous tornadoes, huge hail, and damaging winds that led to power outages on Wednesday. Our meteorologist Sakamori has the forecast.
Hello there. Wild weather affected many places of the plains in the United States on Wednesday. There were 25 reports of tornadoes as well as hail. Some of the hail was as large as 10 centimeters in Kansas, and also damaging winds battered the northeastern United States. A construction collapsed, injuring several people in New York State. Now, we will continue to see thunderstorms from Texas into the Great Lakes region. The highest risk can be found from Texas to Missouri, and we will continue to see a risk for thunderstorms from the south to the eastern United States on your Friday. So conditions will remain pretty unstable for the next several days. So Houston will be 30 degrees with a chance for thunderstorms. Dropping to the 20s in Washington, D.C. on your Friday, but it's been pretty warm along the East Coast. 31 for the high in Miami as well as Atlanta on the last day of the business week. We saw heavy rainfall hitting parts of central and western Japan. We saw record-breaking heavy rainfall in parts of Kyushu. 156 millimeters of rain fell in just 6 hours. That's the record for the month of May. Now, weather will improve on Friday. However, northern Japan and southern Japan will continue to see rainy weather at least into the weekend. Tokyo and Osaka will see sunny weather into the weekend, but Sapporo and Naha will see days of rainy weather into the next 3 days or so. Now, on Wednesday, people on the Pacific side of the world enjoyed a lunar eclipse. Take a look at this video from China. A super blood moon took place Wednesday night, where a total lunar eclipse occurred during a brighter than usual supermoon. Despite some of the clouds in Beijing, a partial eclipse was visible at around 8 p.m. People were out at high observation spots along with parks to try catching a glimpse of the phenomenon. The full eclipse lasted about 15 minutes. That's it for me. Have a nice day.
French President Emmanuel Macron and Rwandan President Paul Kagame meet in Kigali, where Macron says his country bears some blame for Rwanda's 1994 genocide. China accuses the United States of playing politics after President Joe Biden calls for additional investigations into the coronavirus, which was first identified in Wuhan, China. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, thousands flee the city of Goma, fearing another deadly explosion of Mount Nyiragongo. And Hawaiian researchers launch efforts to solve the mystery of unknown ghost nets appearing in the Pacific Ocean.
China has warned the US not to politicize the issue of the origins of the COVID outbreak. President Biden has ordered a new intelligence probe following reports it could have emerged from a Chinese laboratory. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has denied allegations by his former top advisor that poor handling of the pandemic led to tens of thousands of unnecessary deaths. His health secretary also denied allegations that he repeatedly lied. Tens of thousands of people are fleeing the city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo due to fears of another volcanic eruption. The region's governor said an eruption could take place with little warning. And a global temperature limit is set to be reached in the next 5 years. A study says there's a 40% chance of at least 1 year being 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.